Welcome to this week's Minor League Recap episode. Nick here to break down so much that happened last week. There are so many different things to talk about. I'm probably not going to be able to hit on all of it. There are a few performances I will probably miss out on. I apologize in advance. And there are numerous events that deserve a deeper discussion. We're going to have to revisit some of those at a later date because last week was a fantastic week of performances and promotions up and down the farm system, up and down the organization as a whole. But I will not be discussing Sammy Basayo or Dylan Beavers in this episode. We are saving that for the main podcast episode this week. But down on the farm, I'm going to try to hit on as many things that happen and go into additional detail whenever I can. But the baby birds showed out this week. This episode is also being put out on the main podcast feed as well. So if you are not a patron and you're listening to this on the main feed, come on over to the Patreon side, patreon.com/ontheverge. Direct link to sign up is in the episode description as well. We've released one of these episodes every Monday all season long. It's just one of the many perks patrons get. So hope to see you join the large and always growing community over there. But let's strap in and let's look at the week that was down on the Orioles farm, starting where I always do, down in the Dominican Summer League, where the regular season wraps up this week. New playoff format coming to the Dominican Summer League. It's called the DSL Cup, which looks honestly pretty awesome. It's going to be 16 teams. The 8 division winners plus the next 8 best teams based on winning percentage will be placed into groups of 4, where the first round of the tournament will be round robin pool play style. And the team with the best record after pool play will advance to the semifinal round, where it's going to be a best of 3 series in the semifinals and finals to crown a Dominican Summer League champion. Unfortunately, it looks like neither Orioles team is going to qualify this year. So for Orioles prospects, the Dominican Summer League season is going to wrap up this week. We'll do a deeper recap shortly, but looking at last week in particular, the big 3, as I've kind of personally coined them, down for DSL Orioles Black, continued their impressive seasons. The big 3 consists of shortstop Jose Pena, the 16-year-old, who hit .308 last week with 4 walks to 2 strikeouts. Outfielder Alessandro Sanchez, a 17-year-old outfielder who hit .471 last week with a triple and 2 doubles. He now has an .871 OPS on the season. And 17-year-old outfielder Sterling Mieses hit .333. Also has an .871 OPS on the year. Talked about both of those guys on last week's episode. We've touched on them a couple of times this season when looking at the Dominican Summer League. Great seasons continue for all 3 of those players. Over on DSL Orioles orange side, shortstop Wilfrey De La Cruz, the $2 million shortstop acquired from the Chicago Cubs in exchange for Andrew Kittredge at the trade deadline, has cooled off a little bit with the bat since his blazing hot start after the trade. Went just 2 for 12 last week, but he added 5 more walks. He now has a .459 on-base percentage on the year and also has an .871 OPS, which seems to be the magic number in the Dominican Summer League this week. On the pitching front, not a ton to again, without really diving into some stuff and velos and everything. Right-handed pitcher Esteban Luna, a name I've mentioned numerous times this year. 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts in a nice rebound outing. Again, we'll dive into plenty more good performances, have some data behind some names, and more names to know soon. Final day of the season is going to be Tuesday for both DSL Orioles teams, so maybe a recap episode next week or shortly after up on the main feed. Let's move up to Delmarva. Lots going on in Delmarva, including plenty of new faces. The week started by seeing right-handed pitcher Michael Calden get moved up to Aberdeen. We'll talk about him in more detail in a moment, but he has a very strong start to his pro career. And we saw the addition of the first wave of 2025 draft picks, including Ike Irish, Caden Bodine, RJ Austin, Braden Smith, Colin Yeaman, and Wahiva Aloy. And watching Delmarva this past week, every single time Aloy specifically came up to the plate, I couldn't believe that I now get to watch him play here in this Orioles system. I watched more Arkansas baseball this past season than probably any other team in college except for Coastal Carolina. And TBD on how Aloy's pro career pans out, but he was special in college. There weren't many players in college last year who compared to not only his skill set on the field, but his entire aura is very special, and I am stoked that we get to watch this man play now in the Orioles system. But this entire draft class started out with a bang on Tuesday night down in Lynchburg. Ike Irish had a left-on-left single in his first at-bat, played good first base defense as well. Caden Bodine had 2 singles, one from each side of the plate. Colin Yeaman and RJ Austin were hitless but combined for 3 walks, and Braden Smith chipped in 2 singles with 2 RBI. And Wahiva Aloy went 2 for 5 with a broken bat single and a double off the wall that nearly went over the fence in right center field. He also made the fantastic barehanded play across the diamond that I hope you saw on our social media pages if you weren't watching the game live. He did strike out 3 times, so he showed you the full Aloy range in that first game. Quality defense, glimpse of the power, some of the swing and miss. The first strikeout, to be fair, was a pitch in the exact same spot the umpire just called a ball. So crappy low A umpiring. Aloy snickered and walked away after that first strikeout. His third strikeout, he just got beat with high heat. Super charged up Lynchburg reliever coming in ready to eat, show up some top draft picks, and to his credit, he did just that. But it was a great opening night for this entire group. On the week, Ike Irish hit .353 with a double and 1 walk. Caden Bodine hit .316 with a double and 2 walks. Wahiva Aloy hit .294 with 3 doubles and a pair of walks and a stolen base. Braden Smith hit .294 with a double. RJ Austin hit .286 with a double and a couple of walks. And Colin Yeaman started 0 for 8 in his first couple of games, did reach base 3 times via hit by pitch, but ended the week on a very high note, going 3 for 4 with a walk on Sunday afternoon. On the pitching front, a lot to look at. Starting off early in the week with Twine Palmer. This is my first real look at Mr. Palmer since the trade, and my first impression was he's fine right now. When he could locate the fastball, it played well. He struggled to place a slider where it needed to be, left way too many in great positions for hitters to feast on, which they did. But the scouting report on Palmer, as we know, is very intriguing. His Fangraphs report is very fun. He's someone who I'm going to keep watching over these final 3 weeks of the regular season. So he's going to get 3, maybe 4 more outings before he closes up shop for the 2025 season. But I think he's going to be someone who comes out next season, probably starts the year in the high A rotation, and we hear about a lot of changes to his pitch mix, some added velo perhaps. Remember, he's a younger arm. He doesn't turn 21 until the end of the month. Clearly, the Orioles were in on him when he was pitching in the JUCO ranks, why they targeted him in this trade most likely. So they know what they know probably what they want to do with him already. His final line on Tuesday was 4 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. I want to say the line could have been worse based on the low amount of strikes and the quality of contact against his stuff, but the outfield defense behind him wasn't particularly good that night either, so we'll say all this kind of evens out into his final solid line that he had on Tuesday night, and we leave the outing intrigued by what he can do in the system down the road. On Wednesday night, Boston Bateman got the start, 4 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Also my first time sitting down to really watch Bateman, and I was impressed overall. Hard to believe he's just 19 years old because he's such a large human. But that delivery is smooth, it's low effort, it's all a well-oiled operation. I did feel like throughout the outing, though, that I was constantly left wanting more. The fastball and slider specifically both played well, and because his entire operation is so well put together, you can tell that the lesser hitters have real issues picking up what's coming out of his hand. The slider tied a few guys up in mental knots, but I felt like I didn't see that two-strike attack dog with the true finishing weapon. But I say that while also acknowledging that he's 19 years old, first pro season. He was just uprooted from California to Maryland, and he's already up to 75 innings in year 1. So I'm going to wait until next year to take any hard, defined stance on Boston Bateman, other than right now, he's one of the top pitching prospects in this organization, and he could be the crown jewel of this trade, the Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano trade with San Diego. But right now, the floor is certainly there. The Orioles have a beautiful ball of clay to work with here, and I'm very excited to see what they're able to do with him over the next couple of years. I was also just recently went down this Peyton Toll rabbit hole after someone proposed a Toll trade in one of our pre-deadline shows. And then like 2 days later, I was in Richmond to say my goodbyes to the Diamond, and Peyton Toll pitched, and I fell in love. So I have to shake Toll out of my mind before objectively watching Bateman. The Orioles, however, are very pleased, as we found out on Sunday night, that Boston Bateman is being promoted to High A. So he should get 3 more starts in High A to close out his first pro season. We also saw Brandon Downer, who I waited and waited and waited to see just who he is. Is he worth paying attention to? Is he not? It's become very clear very quickly that he is worth paying attention to. He's a 5-pitch mix guy: fastball, sinker, slider, changeup, curveball. And on Thursday night, he went 5 2/3 innings, allowed no earned runs on 6 hits with 1 walk and 3 strikeouts. Only real damage done was on a handful of hanging breaking balls, but when he had command of his breaking stuff, he was able to generate a decent amount of swing and miss, get a couple of weak ground balls. A couple of them rolled over to RJ Austin over at second base, who was active over there on Thursday night. Not really challenged, but made every play cleanly, showed off the athleticism. But Downer has now made 2 appearances with Delmarva, 10 and a third innings, no earned runs, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts to start his career. The big pitching performances continued on Friday night with Carson Dorsey going a career-high 5 2/3 innings, 1 hit allowed, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, 13 whiffs on the night for Dorsey. A dominant outing for the former Florida State Seminole, who could really use a string of consistent outings to close out the year. The up and down performances we've seen from him so far this year go back to his college days, where you never really knew if you were going to get that standout Dorsey who dominated in many of the biggest games of the year for Florida State, or you were going to get Dorsey whose control couldn't get him through 3 innings against a subpar opponent. We're all very intrigued by him due to the loud, raw stuff, but a nice finish to a year started very late due to injuries would be a huge boost going into what is hopefully a fresh start in 2026 and a chance to be one of the next big breakout pitching prospects in this Orioles system. Last but not least, has Chase Alsop figured something out? I think he has. Keeler Morphe got the start on Saturday night. He went 3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 56 pitches, 40 of those strikes. So he threw a lot of strikes. A small win for Keeler Morphe there. But Alsop stole the show that night. He came in relief and dominated. 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. That's no earned runs now on just 3 hits across his last 2 starts. 9 innings where he's posted 18 strikeouts and just 5 walks, as the walk rate has plummeted over the last month and a half. I'm not getting super excited quite yet, but 3 more good outings to close out the year. Do this 3 more times, and we can enter 2026 with some optimism, but tons of credit to Alsop for back-to-back great outings. Delmarva will be at home this week if you want to check out this roster full of new faces, and more to probably come by Tuesday, since Bateman and right-handed pitcher Tanner Smith, who was also acquired from the Padres in the O'Hearn-Laureano trade, have moved up to Aberdeen, so there may be some room for a few new faces from down in the FCL. We'll go up to High A Aberdeen now, where the Ironbirds were coming off a big week. This past week was going to be even more important for this group in Aberdeen. And it was Ethan Anderson who answered the call the loudest, coming out of the gates hot with a 2-for-3, 2-walk performance on Tuesday night. Tuesday night was also the High A debut of Nate George, who went 1-for-4 with a walk and a stolen base. The hit was a dribbler in front of the plate, followed by a wild throw in chaos, because it is Nate George, so of course there had to be chaos. I don't know if it should have been credited with a hit, but it was close, but George's speed, no doubt, caused the pitcher to rush the throw. He made a bad throw. They gave him a hit, said he beat it out. He immediately threw his helmet off and hauled ass to second base. A fun night for Nate George, who had a decent first week in High A. But unfortunately, this lineup, mainly Vance Honeycutt, but this lineup, for the most part, not able to build on their big week the week prior. After Vance Honeycutt returned from his IL stint and showed signs of life the other week, this week, nothing. Literally nothing. He was 0 for 21 with 12 strikeouts last week. Pretty depressing performance, especially if you are someone who has even just an inkling of hope left when it comes to Honeycutt, but his depressing season continues on. Nate George, as I mentioned, his first week in High A, he went 4 for 20, so a 200 average, had a double, 3 walks, and 6 for 6 in stolen base attempts. He just turned 19 years old. He's been on this meteoric rise this season after being drafted in the 16th round last year. Strung together a couple of very nice at-bats, but the big thing that stood out was the 6 for 6 in stolen base attempts. He's fast, uber athletic, former high school track sprint champion, but he struggled to find consistent success on the bases in Delmarva this year, and I said after the promotion that I'm not placing any expectations on George's rest of the season numbers. Just want to enjoy this ride before it ends this year and hopefully see some small developmental wins. 1 weekend, though, with Nate George, and we're already seeing that with the perfect night or perfect week on the bases. The only bat to make some noise, though, real noise, was Ethan Anderson. A 4.62 average on the week with 4 walks, just 1 strikeout. Over his last 20 games, Anderson has a 183 WRC plus, 14 walks to 9 strikeouts, and has shown the bat-to-ball skills that had us excited coming out of last year's draft. He was rewarded with a promotion to Double-A on Sunday night. I've said this many times, and I firmly believe it now. A lot of emphasis was placed on his defense this year, which caused the bat to take a step back, along with all the other regular hurdles that need to be cleared as a first-year pro. But it's clicking now for Anderson, and he has been one of the hottest sticks in the entire system for the last month plus at this point. So congratulations to Ethan Anderson on his promotion to Double-A Chesapeake. But now let's talk about the arms down in Aberdeen this past week. The bats didn't show up. That's been the story all year, but the arms dominated. We'll start early in the week with Jacob Cravey. Cravey is a guy who had a really good relief outing, a couple of good relief outings. As a starter, I don't have a ton of interest, but as a reliever, there is more intrigue. He's 6'6", higher arm slot, plus IVB numbers, up to 20 inches in college. He can run up to 97 plus miles per hour, so I imagine the fastball grades out pretty well, especially if he's closing in on around 7 feet of extension, but I don't have an exact number there. But coming out of college, the changeup received a lot of praise. Don't think he really threw any last week, none that I saw at least. It was mainly fastballs, decent command, not great but good enough, a slider, and then he broke out one bigger 12-6 curveball. Former 6th-round pick out of Samford, signed by David Jennings. David Jennings was the guy who scouted him back in college. So enough to like as a reliever moving forward, and hopefully we see him in that role starting in Double-A next year. See if he can open some eyes. He's tossed 2 1/3 no-hit innings with 4 strikeouts this past week and was part of Saturday night's Masterclass, a combined no-hitter for the Aberdeen Ironbirds. Luis De Leon, Jacob Cravey, Zane Barnhart, and Carter Baumler all combined to go 9 innings, no hits, no runs, and 14 strikeouts, all with Ethan Anderson behind the plate as well. A memorable night against the Hudson Valley Renegades, the New York Yankees high A affiliate, so even sweeter there. I'm going to talk about a few of these guys a little more in a minute, but Cravey specifically, since being promoted to high A this year, he has logged 20 total innings. He has a .45 ERA, 20 strikeouts, a 130 average against, and a .95 whip. So he is finding something there in Aberdeen's bullpen. Wellington Aracena might just be him. 5 shutout innings, 5 strikeouts on Wednesday. He's allowed 1 earned run across 13 2/3 innings since joining the organization. Walks and high pitch counts have been there. He does have his moments where he has to battle his control, but he is very impressive for a 20-year-old. The poise and confidence on the mound stick out, and you can clearly see when guys are just up there chucking baseballs versus those who are attacking with a plan and are very deliberate with each pitch, and that's Aracena. And that stands out more considering his age. This particular outing last week was even more impressive because he battled pouring rain, and then a kind of a scary moment in this 3rd or 4th pitch of the game where his front toe, it looked like, got caught in the dirt as he was trying to land, and he took a pretty hard tumble. Could have easily been something a little bit more serious, but he quickly found his composure and proceeded to cruise through 5 innings as his impressive introduction to the organization continues. Carter Baumler had a very good week as well, continues to look very good, dotting the fastball, hammering back foot breakers, up to 97, I believe, this week, 97, 98 miles per hour. He doesn't look like the Carter Baumler from 2021 who opened a lot of eyes as he finally made his pro debut for a few innings before yet another injury occurred. He looks stronger and wiser, and I don't know for sure because I haven't talked to him directly, but based on the interview he did with Steve Molesky earlier this summer and just watching him pitch, especially over these last couple of weeks, he just looks free. Like he knows the Carter Baumler who got a $1.5 million signing bonus in 2020 is still in there. And all the expectations are largely gone now. And he probably knows that many fans out there have probably forgotten about him at this point. And he's pitching under the radar, finding success, and more importantly, staying healthy. 3 shutout innings this week, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He got the final inning of the combined no-hitter, and then on Sunday night was promoted to Double-A. So a big, memorable week for Carter Baumler. However, we're going to have a deeper conversation, a more interesting conversation about Baumler this fall because of his Rule 5 status and where he currently stands now in his performance this year. So I touched on this in my article that is up on Substack last week, but a longer conversation will be very interesting to have. We also saw the high A debut of right-handed pitcher Michael Calden, the 18th round pick last year out of Felician College. He gave up no earned runs across 3 1/3 relief innings, walking 1, striking out 3, Needed 70 pitches to get through the outing, but he's now logged 65 innings this season, a 2.19 ERA with 73 strikeouts. He came in relief of Yeber Cartaya, whose second high A outing was nothing like his first high A outing, which was very good. He walked 6, gave up 4 earned runs in 2 innings this past week. And on Friday night, it was Evan Yates to save the pitching staff. Juan Rojas gave up 4 runs on 2 walks and no strikeouts before being removed, recording a grand total of 0 outs. But last year's 20th round pick, Evan Yates, was able to record a 5-inning, no earned run, 2-hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout performance. Yates isn't getting the strikeouts in his first 2 high A outings this year. He has just 4 in 9 innings, but he's allowed 0 earned runs through 2 outings as he remains an intriguing arm in the system. And last but not least, Luis De Leon, again, part of that no-hitter the other night. Luis De Leon threw 5 of those no-hit innings, striking out 9. He now has 16 innings over his last 3 outings, no earned runs, just 3 walks to 27 strikeouts in those 16 innings. De Leon has reached the point of promotion. He figured something out to get everyone their innings, but De Leon has passed his high A exam, and it's now time for the Double A test. Unfortunately, he was not one of the promotions announced on Sunday, so it looks like we're going to have to continue to wait for that well-earned promotion for Luis De Leon. Aberdeen is also home this week, so if you've been wanting to get out to an Ironbirds game but haven't yet, go now, because there are just a few more games left before Aberdeen heads off to the MLB Draft League, and we welcome back the Frederick Keys as the Orioles high A affiliate. So pick your favorite arm on the staff, check out MILB.com to see the probables, and go see a game before the opportunity is gone. Go up to Double A now, the Chesapeake Bay Sox. It was not a good week for Zach Fruit, who kicked off the week for Double A, walking 8 batters in his outing on Wednesday. He's now sporting a 9.33 ERA with 20 walks to 21 strikeouts in 27 Double A innings. He's missed most of the year due to his lat injury, so trying to adjust to Double A while dealing with the injury has certainly shaken his season. Perhaps he's still not fully healthy either, and maybe he should go out to Arizona, the Arizona Fall League, to continue to get some innings, remain as a starter next year back in Double A. But remember, he's also a 5th-year senior sign who is 25. He's about to be 26 when next season starts. He has the stuff and profile to play very well out of the bullpen. I think it's worth a conversation right now, and I touched on this a bit in my latest piece, which is up on Substack as of this morning if you were listening on Monday, looking at possible AFL candidates this year. I don't think it's quite yet ready to pull the trigger and turn Zach Fruit into a reliever. Again, send him out to the Arizona Fall League. Let him get back to Double A next year and work out of Chesapeake's rotation and see what happens. But if we're halfway through the year and we're still seeing some of these issues, I think it will be time to have that conversation about Fruit's status moving forward. On the positive pitching front, though, another couple of scoreless innings for Tyson Neighbors. No hits, no runs, 1 walk, 1 strikeout across 2 innings. He's now up to 4 1/3 scoreless innings with just 1 hit allowed since joining the organization from the Padres. Right-handed pitcher Jerron Watts-Brown came over from the Blue Jays. He went 5 2/3, allowing 5 hits, 4 runs, including 3 home runs. Again, these came off the bat, though, of Kevin McGonigal, who had a monster week against the Bay Sox, and Max Clark, who is a very, very good prospect in the Tiger system. Now, here's what I really liked about Watts-Brown outing, though. He had 0 walks, 7 strikeouts, and 21 whiffs. He is a late-season trade acquisition who's only going to get a handful of outings with his new org. So let's give him time to just finish out this year, let the Orioles make the tweaks they want to make with him, and let's see what he looks like next year. But right now, I'm enjoying seeing so much swing and miss from Watts-Brown. I will hang the hat on that. Up to 135 strikeouts now on the year, 4 more than last year, and he's at the same 103 inning mark. 103 innings last year, 103 innings this year, 4 more strikeouts than last year, and the walk total, 42 walks on the year, which is 18 fewer walks than last year. His ERA is down nearly a run, and even with the 3 home run outing on Saturday, he's allowed 2 fewer home runs on the year. Last but not least, Michael Ferret made his Double A debut on Sunday, and he shoved. I said last week when he was promoted that the biggest immediate thing for me was that the promotion eased any uncertainties I had about Fred's health since returning from his back injury. Then he goes out and tosses 6 innings in his Double A debut, gives up just 2 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. Needed just 65 pitches to get through 6 innings, so he is healthy, no concerns there, and as expected, he's very good. 83 strikeouts to just 17 walks and a 1.37 ERA across 65 total innings this season. Trey Gibson is the top pitching prospect in the system, but Michael Frett is a very close number 2, and I don't think that is up for debate at this point. We also have some offense to talk about at the AA level, which is rare, but a lot of offense for the Bay Sox this past week. Enrique Bradfield Jr. returned to the lineup on Tuesday and announced his return with an opposite field 3-run home run for his second home run of the year. On the week, he went 6 for 23, so a .261 average, had 2 doubles, the just mentioned home run, and was also 5 for 5 in stolen base attempts. Creed Willems broke out of a cold stretch last week, hitting .375, including a double dong day on Wednesday to give him 12 home runs on the year. He made it 13 home runs on the year with a shot on Thursday as part of a 5 RBI night. He's now hitting a career-high .255 with 13 home runs, 18 doubles, a .343 on-base percentage, also a career-high by about 20 points at the moment. We also saw big weeks from Austin O'Verne and Aaron Estrada, 2 of the newer guys to this Bay Sox lineup, and 2 guys who do not get enough credit in the system. O'Verne hit 2 home runs on Sunday, added 2 doubles as well, and 2 doubles throughout the week, that is. He is now hitting .280 on the week. Estrada hit a pair of home runs this past week, hit .333 with 2 walks and just 2 strikeouts. The 20-year-old is now hitting .281 with an .896 OPS and 5 home runs in 16 AA games since his promotion. 10 home runs on the year between high A and AA, and has the OPS up more than 40 points compared to last year, up to .816 for the year. If Aaron Estrada is not on your radar, put him on there now. Chesapeake is also home this week. All 4 affiliates are actually home next week. So if you want to go see some minor league baseball, pick your spot. And finally, we head to AAA Norfolk. We had the much anticipated debut of Trey Gibson on Wednesday night down in Jacksonville, and he did not disappoint at all. 5 shutout innings, 1 hit that was quickly wiped away with a double play, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts, a 40% called strike plus whiff percentage, which is insane, 1 hard hit ball allowed, topped out at 97 miles per hour. We also got our first look at the StatCast numbers. Keep in mind that this was his first outing with the MLB ball. A lot of questions on social media asking why he was removed after just 5 innings. Well, I talked about this on last week's main show. We don't know how the Orioles are going to handle his innings after the promotion, but I said I don't think they're going to let him run 6-7 innings like he had been doing in AA over these last few weeks, because he needed just 2 innings this past week to surpass his career high. So he's entering a new innings territory, but doing so at the AAA level now with a new baseball. Still have more than a month of AAA baseball left, so you also want to maybe keep him on the mound and not shut him down in 2 weeks. So even on an efficient outing like he had on Wednesday, they're probably going to keep him limited to 4 or 5 innings so he can pitch through September 21st, or whenever the AAA season ends. 21st sounds right. But if he gets 120 innings, that's 30 more than he had last year. Add another 30 more next year, hopefully some of those being in the major leagues. The more important takeaway from his debut, though, was 5 shutout innings, 1 hit, no walks. Take the StatCast card with a grain of salt, and let's see what it looks like as he settles in and gets used to the baseball, but multiple above average to plus offerings, plus extension, and he had this successful outing while throwing 75% strikes. So it's just 1 start, but it was a very good one, and one everyone should be very excited about. Not a ton else to highlight in Norfolk on the pitching front. Kyle Bradish, Tyler Wells, and Albert Suarez all continued their rehabs and look like they will be back with the Orioles soon. There are a couple of relief farms we do need to talk about. We will probably look more into those guys in some future Substack articles or some future podcast episodes, but we're going on nearly 30 minutes already on a solo show. So Carson Ragsdale and some other guys who pitched well this week in Norfolk, great job. We will dive into you guys a little bit later on. But I do want to touch on Chase McDermott. And if anyone hasn't seen some of the posts on social media recently, McDermott has been working strictly in short relief stints, and they have been fantastic. 6 total innings, 3 hits allowed, no earned runs, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. He's approaching a 70% strike rate. The fastball is averaging 3 ticks more in relief. It's up to 97. That's average velo, not max velo. The fastball is landing in the zone at a 20+% higher rate, and his whiff rate on just the fastball alone has jumped from 19% to over 35%. It's been a massive improvement across the board for McDermott. Last week, he had 1 no-hit inning with no walks, 1 strikeout, needed just 9 pitches to get through the inning. on 6 strikes, in and out, crushed it, job well done. More of this, please. No more starts. No more stretching him out to try. Please, 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 no more when it comes to Chase McDermott. Relief only. Let McDermott eat in that role, and you might have something really good here. I say this with all love for Chase McDermott. He's been a fun follow in the system since coming over from Houston. He was a great former guest on this podcast. I want to see him succeed in the big leagues, but I need it to be out of the bullpen because that's what's going to be best for him and this organization in 2026, in my opinion. On the hitting side, a quick shout out to Reed Trimble. Trimble hit .353 last week with 2 doubles, a home run, 5 walks to 3 strikeouts. It's been an injury-riddled career for Trimble since being drafted in 2021, but he's now set a new career high in at-bats. His next game will be his 66th of the year, which will also be a career high. He hit .280 in July, is hitting .261 in August, .875 OPS last month, .809 OPS this month, 5 total home runs, 14 total extra base hits in 32 games since the beginning of July. He's healthy. He's settling into AAA and making some noise now. Love seeing him show some of what made him an intriguing prospect over the last couple of years. But that'll do it for this week's recap. If I missed any big storylines, I am sorry. I tried to include as much as possible. But if you are listening to this on Monday, we will not have our regular show Monday night. At least that appears to be the plan right now. Our main show this week will be on Tuesday night. We will talk about the biggest storylines right now, the promotions and early performances of outfielder Dylan Beavers and catcher Samuel Basayo. So if you've listened to this entire episode and are wondering why there were no mention of those two, that is why. Saving that for the main show. We will also have a mailbag episode. Lots of fun questions already. If you're listening to this before we record on Tuesday night and have a question or topic you want us to discuss, drop it in the podcast mailbag channel in our Discord or DM us on any of our social media channels, and we will attempt to fit your question in. So thank you for listening to this very long weekly recap. It was a fantastic week of Orioles baseball at the major league level and the minor league level. Hopefully that continues over the last couple of weeks. Thank you for listening again. Have a great week and join us Tuesday night. See you then.